This is Planning Your I Do from You Had Me at I Do. For over a quarter century, You Had Me at I Do has been helping couples say, I do. We bring more than 400 weddings of real-world experience as an officiant and a DJ, and this podcast is packed with what you, as the bride and groom, need to know, what you're wondering about, and what's keeping you up at night. No judgment, no fluff, just real answers and ideas for real planning. Here's today's episode.
Picture this. It is 2 a.m.
Oh, I already know exactly where this is going.
Right. The house is completely dead quiet. You are curled up on the couch, and the only light in the entire room is the blue glow of your phone screen.
Just doom scrolling.
Exactly. You are deep in the trenches of scrolling through wedding forums, just looking for some late-night inspiration.
As one does.
As one does. And then suddenly, this cold wave of realization totally washes over you. You start noticing that almost every single bride on these boards is quietly, or honestly, very loudly panicking about the exact same thing.
Yeah.
They are completely terrified of having to write and deliver their vows.
It is the ultimate shared secret of wedding planning, isn't it? I mean, you spend months and months hyper-focusing on the tangible things.
Right, the things you can control.
Exactly. The floral arrangements, the seating charts, finding the absolute perfect dress, and then out of nowhere it hits you. You actually have to speak.
Out loud.
Out loud, in front of literally every person you know.
Which is terrifying.
It is incredibly common for that sudden realization to spark a very genuine, very heavy sense of dread.
And if you are that bride on the couch right now, with that familiar knot of dread sitting heavy in your stomach, wondering how on earth you're going to pull this off, well, welcome to today's deep dive. We are talking directly to you today.
We really are.
We have spent a lot of time combing through some incredibly comforting, very practical insights. We are looking at a guide written from the perspective of an experienced wedding officiant.
And this is someone who has stood up at the altar with hundreds of couples.
Hundreds. They have seen every single variation of wedding day nerves. So our mission today is to take that knot of dread in your stomach and just turn it into total relief.
Because the perspective we found in our research is just so incredibly grounding. When someone has officiated that many ceremonies, they realize very quickly that worrying about the cringe factor is normal.
Oh, totally.
Hearing stage fright or being terrified that your mind is just going to go completely blank, none of that means you are doing anything wrong.
Right. It doesn't mean your relationship is flawed.
Exactly. Those feelings do not mean your relationship isn't strong. They are incredibly normal. Honestly. They are practically a rite of passage for getting married.
I love that, a rite of passage. And we want to prove to you today that you have real, beautiful options. Options that do not require you to deliver a TED Talk in a ball gown.
A TED Talk in a ball gown. That is the perfect analogy.
Right, because I think that is exactly what this feels like. Society suddenly expects you to be this flawless professional public speaker on what is arguably the most vulnerable, highly emotional day of your entire life.
Which is a completely unfair expectation.
Yeah.
And it's one we are going to fully dismantle today. The fear you are feeling is valid, but it absolutely doesn't mean your ceremony cannot be beautifully, honestly yours.
So let's start by moving from that vague general sense of panic to the very specific fears you might be facing when you picture yourself at the altar.
I think chief among them, and the one we see mentioned constantly, is the fear of crying in front of everyone.
Oh, it comes up all the time. People are absolutely terrified of the ugly cry.
Yes, the ugly cry.
They worry about ruining their makeup or just sobbing uncontrollably and somehow ruining the moment.
But one of the most comforting takeaways we found gives you the ultimate permission slip right up front.
Which is so refreshing.
It really is. The rule is simply this. Crying is allowed. In fact, crying is entirely expected.
I mean, your guests expect emotion.
Your partner expects it. The officiant has probably cried at dozens of these ceremonies themselves. It is a wedding. The emotion is the entire reason everyone gathered together in the first place.
That is such a crucial way to reframe the fear. Because when you really look at it, the anxiety usually isn't about the tears themselves.
No, not at all.
The fear is actually about the perceived loss of control.
Exactly. It is the fear of not being able to finish your sentences. Or feeling far too exposed when the spotlight is solely on you and you feel like you just cannot catch your breath.
And recognizing that underlying mechanism, realizing that it is about control and not the tears, that completely changes how you approach the problem.
It totally does.
But I do hear that, and let me put myself in the shoes of someone who is legitimately terrified. Say you are listening to this and thinking, well, that sounds great in theory, but I am terrified of just completely freezing up.
Right.
Like, what if my throat physically closes up and my voice is shaking so badly that I just cannot get the words out?
That is a very real concern. And there are incredibly practical solutions for exactly that scenario. If you fear breaking down entirely or freezing up, the mechanical solution is to keep the vows much, much shorter.
Which makes perfect sense.
There's this amazing story from the source material about a groom who was absolutely terrified of the spotlight. He wasn't afraid of the commitment at all.
Right, he was ready to be married.
Entirely ready. He was just deeply, deeply afraid of the performance aspect of the ceremony.
And what they did with him was brilliant. Instead of forcing him into some long, poetic monologue, they worked together to craft very short, incredibly direct promises.
Yes. They stripped away all the flowery language. They just kept the core verbs, the actual promises he was making.
And on the day of the wedding, he still cried.
Of course. The raw emotion was entirely there. But because the promises were designed specifically for his comfort level, and because the sentences were short enough that he didn't have to manage his breathing for long stretches, he got through it.
He finished every single word.
He finished every single word, his voice held, and his wife later said it was the most genuine he had ever sounded.
That has to be the ultimate goal. Your vows do not need to be brave in some theatrical way. They simply need to be true.
That's true.
And once you let go of the need to put on a performance, you can start looking at the actual mechanics of the ceremony. Because the truth is, you have options at the altar that completely remove that pressure.
So let's explore how you actually do that. There are 3 main paths you can take to say I do.
3 distinct paths.
Right. And remember, the goal here is authenticity, not putting on a show. So the first path is the one everyone just assumes is mandatory. You write your own personal vows, and you read your vows out loud at the altar.
Which is certainly the most personal choice. I mean, you have total control over the words, the tone, and the length.
You can make them funny, poetic, or entirely plain-spoken.
But the trade-off is significant, and we have to be completely honest about it. It requires holding a piece of paper and having to actually read your vows out loud while you are in a highly emotional, very vulnerable state.
Which is tough.
For some people, leaning into that vulnerability is a beautiful experience. But for others, it is a recipe for overwhelming panic.
Which is exactly why we need to talk about the second path. And I think this one is often overlooked, but it is actually brilliant. It is the repeat after me format.
Oh, I love the repeat after me format.
It is the classic traditional format for a very good reason. The officiant speaks a line, and you repeat it. Think about the physical relief of that for a moment. There is absolutely no memorization required. You do not hold any paper.
Yes, and I really want to highlight the physical aspect of that because when you are panicked, your nervous system is in total overdrive. You literally forget to breathe.
You hold your breath without realizing it.
Exactly. But when you do a repeat after me vow, the pacing is completely handled by a professional. You only have to focus on 5 or 6 words at a time.
Right.
It actually forces you to breathe in between lines. The officiant is essentially co-regulating your nervous system, keeping your nerves totally in check.
It is a phenomenal safety net built right into the tradition. And then we have the third path, which is the simple I do only.
Just I do.
Just I do. This means you skip the personal spoken vows entirely. You only answer the traditional prompts from the officiant, such as, do you take this person? And you simply respond, I do.
I can hear brides right now sitting on their couches, wondering if that is somehow a lesser choice.
They know.
Like they're taking the easy way out and their guests are going to be somehow disappointed that they didn't bare their souls for 20 minutes.
Yeah. To be incredibly clear on this point, choosing the I do only path is not a lesser ceremony.
Not at all.
It is not a failure of courage. It is a complete, valid, and deeply meaningful wedding choice.
Not.
If the thought of speaking personal vows is the thing keeping you from sleeping at night, removing that pressure entirely is the smartest thing you can do.
Absolutely.
The absolute best path is the one that allows you to stay present in the moment with your partner. It is not the path that looks best on a Pinterest board.
I love that distinction. Stay present, ignore the Pinterest pressure. The aesthetics of a wedding should never override the reality of how you actually feel.
Never.
But what if you are sitting there feeling completely torn? Say you desperately want to share deep personal feelings and promises with your partner. You really want them to know how you feel.
Right, you want that connection.
But you firmly fall into the I do only camp when it comes to public speaking. You refuse to do the theatrical performance, but you desperately want the intimacy.
This is where we introduce what might be the best-kept secret of wedding planning. It is the private letter workaround.
Oh, this is the best.
It solves the exact conflict you just described perfectly. Instead of forcing those intimate feelings into a microphone in front of a massive crowd, you write them down and exchange handwritten letters.
You can do this the morning of the wedding while you are getting ready. Or maybe during a private first look before the ceremony even begins.
Exactly. You pack those letters full of the vulnerable stuff, the inside jokes, the deeply personal promises, the things you only want them to know.
And then when you get to the altar in front of 150 people, you keep the spoken words incredibly simple. You do the repeat after me, or just the traditional I do.
It is a highly effective strategy because you are separating the emotional intimacy from the public declaration. You literally do not have to sacrifice one for the other.
It is basically like having an exclusive VIP backstage pass just for the two of you. You get this quiet, deeply connected moment together where the pressure is completely off.
Yes, the VIP experience.
Meanwhile, the guests still get to witness the beautiful, traditional, general admission show. Everyone gets what they need, but you get to protect your most vulnerable feelings from public consumption.
And beyond just solving the public speaking fear, those physical letters become incredible keepsakes.
Oh, totally.
Couples often treasure these handwritten letters far more than anything they would have spoken publicly. Think about it. You have a tangible artifact of exactly how you felt on the morning of your wedding.
Completely free from the filter of worrying about an audience.
Exactly. You can frame it, you can keep it in a box, you can read it on your anniversaries. It is a permanent record of your authentic voice.
Let's actually talk about that authentic voice. Let's talk about the writing process itself. Whether you are writing that private letter or crafting short public vows to read at the altar, the biggest fear right after crying is sounding cheesy.
Nobody wants to sound cheesy.
Right. How do you write something that actually sounds like you rather than a generic greeting card you picked up at a pharmacy?
The secret weapon against cheesiness is specificity. Generic vows sound cheesy because they could literally belong to anyone.
Right.
When you rely on broad, sweeping tropes, the words lose their impact because they aren't uniquely tied to your specific relationship.
Like standing there and saying, you are my best friend and my soulmate. I mean, it is incredibly sweet, but it is a trope.
It is a trope.
It doesn't actually tell a story about who you are as a couple.
Precisely. Instead of the trope, you pull from real, highly specific moments. You talk about the fact that they're the person who immediately picks up the phone when your flight gets canceled in a strange city at midnight.
Yes, the real stuff.
You talk about how they do not complain when you completely burn the lasagna for the third time in a row.
There is this wonderful phrase we came across in the research, the beauty of Sweet Tuesday habits.
I love that phrase so much.
I think that is such a perfect way to frame it. Sweet Tuesday habits. It is not about the grand romantic vacations or the big dramatic gestures. It is about the ordinary, quiet moments that proved this was your person. Let's actually think about what a Sweet Tuesday habit looks like.
Well, it is the fact that they know exactly how you like your coffee and bring it to you without asking.
Yes.
It is the way they automatically take the dog out when they know you have had a brutal day at work.
Yeah.
It is how they handle mundane stress, like a flat tire or a broken appliance.
Yes. Or knowing they always make sure your phone is plugged into the charger when you fall asleep on the couch.
Oh, that is a good one.
Right. Those ordinary moments are where actual relationships are built and sustained. When you anchor your words in those highly specific Tuesday habits, it is virtually impossible to sound cheesy.
Because those details belong entirely to you. No one else could have written them.
And while we are talking about tone, it is definitely worth touching on humor. Humor is a fantastic way to relieve tension, both for you and the guests.
It really is.
But there is a very important boundary you need to maintain.
A very clear boundary. Humor is wonderful as long as it serves the emotional moment, but you must make sure it doesn't cross the line into roasting your partner at the altar.
Right. The ceremony is definitely not an open mic night. You do not want to use the altar as a place to air grievances, even jokingly.
Exactly. It is a wise boundary to set. You also want to keep the length incredibly manageable. If you do choose to read your vows out loud, the sweet spot is aiming for about 1 to 2 minutes.
That feels very doable.
In terms of word count, that is roughly 150 to 250 words. It is long enough to say something profoundly meaningful, but short enough that you can actually get through it, even if your hands are shaking and your heart is racing.
Okay, so let's say you have done it. You have written these perfect, highly specific 200-word vows. Now we need to talk about the day of logistics.
Yes, the logistics.
Because this is where things can easily go off the rails if you aren't prepared. What are the actual safety nets? First of all, the advice is universal on this. You need to practice out loud, but only once or twice.
Just once or twice. That distinction is so critical.
Why is that?
Well, you want to read them out loud to find the awkward phrasing or the accidental tongue twisters. You want to locate the places where you naturally run out of breath so you know where to pause.
That makes sense.
You want to catch any sentences that look great on paper but are just way too long to actually say out loud. But you must stop rehearsing before you memorize it.
Yes, if you memorize it to death, it sounds dead.
Completely flat.
It ends up sounding recited like you are in a school play rather than something you are feeling in the moment. You want the words to feel familiar in your mouth, but you still want the emotion to be raw and real when you look at your partner.
Exactly.
And then we have the rule that might be my favorite piece of practical advice out of everything we have looked at. It is about what you actually hold in your hands at the altar.
Ah, the great paper versus phone debate.
Except it isn't a debate at all. The rule is incredibly simple. Do not use a phone. Use nice paper.
Please use paper.
There are so many logistical nightmares waiting to happen with a phone. The screen has a glare from the sun or the venue lighting. You have text messages popping up.
From people saying they are running late?
Exactly. And then there is the ultimate romance killer. The screen locking while you are standing there. Picture the tension building. Everyone is quiet. The music has stopped. And you have to say, hold on, my phone went to the lock screen and the camera doesn't recognize my face with this veil on.
Oh, it is the worst. It completely shatters the magic of the moment.
Totally shatters it.
Beyond the technical issues, there is a psychological benefit to paper. Nice paper is reliable. It has a physical weight to it. When your hands are trembling, holding onto a solid piece of cardstock actually grounds you.
I can see that.
It gives you a tactile anchor. Plus, it looks timeless in photographs, and it doesn't require a battery. It is highly recommended to print 2 copies of your vows on that nice paper and hand one directly to your officiant before the ceremony even begins.
Which brings us to the ultimate safety net of the entire day. The officiant themselves.
Yes.
This is an experienced person standing literally 2 feet away from you. Their entire job is to protect the space and protect the moment. You can tell them beforehand that you are incredibly nervous, and they can hold that space for you.
They really can.
If you lose your place, they can quietly cue you line by line. If you start crying and just need a moment to take a breath, they know how to step in, maybe address the guests for a second and give you that time.
They can even hold a completely shortened backup version in their pocket.
Really?
Yes. If you get halfway through your beautiful handwritten vows and realize you simply cannot finish reading the long version, they can smoothly transition you into the repeat after me format.
That is amazing.
A good officiant manages those transitions so seamlessly that your guests will never even realize a change was made. The entire structure of the ceremony is designed to support you, not test you.
So let's bring this entire deep dive back to you. The bride we pictured at the very beginning, sitting on the couch, illuminated by her phone, dreading the moment she has to speak.
The 2 a.m. scroller.
The 2 a.m. scroller. We have covered the absolute permission to cry. We have walked through the 3 different paths you can take to say your vows.
We've talked about the genius of the private letter workaround for protecting your intimacy.
And we have covered how to write specific, beautiful words without sounding cheesy, and why you should absolutely leave your phone in the dressing room. So what is the core takeaway you need to hear right now to finally get some sleep?
The core takeaway is simply this. You do not have to be perfect. You just have to be present.
That is so true.
The weddings that are most fondly remembered by guests, and the moments that couples cherished the most, are never the ones with flawlessly delivered, rigidly memorized vows. They're the ones where 2 people simply looked at each other, stayed in the moment, and truly meant what they said.
Whatever choice you make for your ceremony, whether it is funny, brief, entirely traditional, completely handwritten, repeated line by line, or kept completely private in a letter you hand over during your first look.
It is the right choice.
It is the right choice. Your vows cannot be a source of shame, and they absolutely shouldn't be a source of panic. You are fully allowed to choose a ceremony that actually fits who you are, rather than who you think you are supposed to be.
We want to leave you with a gentle prompt to help you start this process right now, tonight, right from your couch.
Yes, grab a pen.
Don't worry about the formatting. Don't worry about how it sounds to a crowd. Don't even worry about whether it going in a private letter or being spoken aloud. Just think about this. If you had to write down just one hyper-specific, beautifully mundane memory from a random Tuesday that proves exactly why you love your partner, what would it be?
Just let that one sweet, ordinary memory be the very first sentence you write.
You've been listening to Planning Your I Do from You Had Me at I Do. Show notes, planning help, and ceremony support are at youhadmeatido.com/podcast. Subscribe so you don't miss the next episode, and send it to a bride friend who needs answers instead of more stress at 2 in the morning. Thanks for listening.